Part 12. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 112. Chapter 111 Advice. It took 20 spirit stones to buy 10 alchemists from the Yi family firm and walked out of the firm under renovation. Yekong sighed, "It's really dark. If you join the cultivation school, you don't need to accept this. Wait for the bird gas." At this time, the ancestor of Huanquan finally spoke, and asked, "Boy, how is this woman?" "Beauty, beauty has turned. If you can get up to her once, you will die if you can." Yekong haha laughed, but was frustrated in her heart, and she was refining 3 layers of gas. People are all in the dandan period. It's so different, how could he get him on board? It's really beautiful. Even Huanquan, who had always talked about it, couldn't help but admire, and then he said something that surprised Yekong. "Now you know that the shadow beauty is pretty, she is an authentic shadow girl." Yekong was startled. The shadow clan? Didn't the shadow clan perish long ago? How could there still be the shadow clan? "You ask me, who do I ask? Maybe it was left by luck. I think when I was a film girl, that was cool." Huanquan's ancestors began to recall the years back then. Yekong ignored him. Was the film clan girl doing nothing about him? Although Yumening was beautiful, he could only think about it. When he stepped out of the door, he just met Zij, who was still standing by the door. Yekong walked over and decided to remind him. "Brother Zij, come here and tell you something. This is the last day of Fangxi, and there are still people coming and going on the streets, and everyone wants to find the items they need at the last time." Standing on the side of the street, Yekong said to Zaiji, "Brother, I don't know what to say or not." "Please." Zaiji saw Yekong's cautious expression, and he was serious. "I think that the female nun named Lu Ruyun is not so authentic. I think you should still be careful. You know that there is a kind of yin and yang magic that is specially cultivated to absorb the masculinity of men." "Work?" Zaiji shook his head and said, "It's impossible. Ruyun is a child of Qingminggu. Qingminggu is a great school of cultivating immortals in the Kangnan continent. How can you practice the kind of magic you say?" Yekong urgently said, "She said that Qingminggu belongs to Qingminggu. Have you asked her about it?" At this time, Zaiji was in love. Other people heard bad things about her sweetheart, and said angrily, "Xiaoziao, if there is anything else you can say, but it's okay, but don't say it anymore. Ruyun is indeed Qingming Menggu, her father is also the elder of Qingminggu. In any case, I absolutely believe her." This kid didn't listen to people's persuasion. Yekong became very angry, and arched his hand. "Since this is the case, I have nothing to say." Before Yekong left, she couldn't help but leave a sentence, "Remember, don't follow her out of the cottage, she won't take any chances in Fangxi. If she wants you to go out, be careful." When Yekong Hua said this, he had done everything right. Since people insist on not persuading, then they can't blame others. The boy, Zaki, was really confused. Not only did he not take Yekong's warning to heart, but told her at night when Lu Ruyun spent the next month. "Lu Ruyun is annoyed. Boy, if you want to hurt me, then you can't blame me. I will the 3rd layer of your gas condensate first, and be my appetizer." Yekong was very deep-proofed to her, and she had some difficulties if she wanted Yekong to be willing to follow her. If forcibly launched, after all, this is Beizai village, and all fights are forbidden, what should we do? However, Lu Ruyun has a way. She has a very good auxiliary attack weapon, Kiloo Xianxia. Inside the sachet is the powder made by the fertility organs of Zongpan Ling Xiao. This powder has powerful medicine. Even if it is a fairy in the period of dandan, it has a strong effect, which is a kind of super spring/medicine. The strength of this medicine is that it is colorless and tasteless, and it is not transmitted through the sense of smell, but through Reiki. Think of the body of the cultivator, it is necessary to bathe in the aura at any time, it is difficult to not poison. At noon the next day, the city of Fang had completely dispersed, and most of the immortalists had left. Ye Kong sent Zhang Wulin away, and returned to the small building, preparing to return to the retreat and impact the fourth floor of gas refining. But as soon as he entered the small building, he smelled a faint flow of strange aura in the air. He was more sensitive to the aura than the people in the Kangnan continent. "Brother Xia, you're back." Lu Ruyun slouched lazily on a large chair with a sloppy posture. She deliberately pulled the skirt over her knees, and her two round legs with jade light, right? Men's lethality is huge. "Yes, girl Lu, why didn't you come back to the room?" Ye Kong asked with a smile. "I accidentally sprained my ankle today and can't go." This excuse is not so good. The fairy will twist her feet. In fact, Lu Ruyun did not want to make excuses. According to her experience, this kind of Kiloo sachet is powerful for men. Even the Shishi or Jadan Xianren will not be spared. Besides, this little monk who refines gas is a three-tiered man? According to her imagination, Ye Kong should not even want to think about it, so he rushed up and panted, and then when she used the yin and yang magic, everything was done. No one knew how the boy died. What disappointed her was that the kid was calm after coming in, and didn't mean to jump up. Could it be that the sachet is not working? Lu Ruyun frowned, holding a sachet in his hand, and put in more aura to urge him to exert his full force of medicine. "Brother Xia, my feet hurt so much, Zajai is not there, or, would you rub it for me?" Lu Ruyun not only urged the scent bag to be more effective, but stretched out a crystal white leg. I saw she wasn't wearing shoes and socks. After Lu Ruyun's two-pronged approach, it finally had an effect, and Ye Kong, who had been unsmiling at her, came over. "Where is it twisted?" Ye Kong caught her moving little foot for nothing. "Oh." Lu Ruyun's belly went straight, and her lips hummed. As long as he was a man, she couldn't help but think of that. "Oh, you lightly, people hurt." Lu Ruyun's eyes were silky, making people fluctuate. "Does it hurt?" Ye Kong smiled coldly, pulling the woman to his leg. Lu Ruyun was overjoyed for a while, and his medicine worked wonders. "Hey, the men in the world let me suck, and as long as your stuff comes in, your skill will be mine." She still wanted to refuse and welcome back, and said, "Brother Xia, don't, you haven't rubbed the guitar with me yet, don't, you are good or bad." But thinking about it, I suddenly felt a sudden pain in my body, especially the point on the top of my own mountain. "Ah! It hurts." "What are you doing?" Lu Ruyun slaps Ye Kong vigorously, but Ye Kong still sneers, pinching hard, and Lu Ruyun's eyes are full of tears. "You let go. You bastard." Ye Kong sneered, "Aren't you waiting for me? Why do you want to hook me up?" "Tell you, I'm this kind of person, I like to deal with women like this." Ye Kong lowered her head in her ear again and whispered, "In our hometown, this is called BT, haha." "You bastard. You let go." Lu Ruyun has never encountered such a man who doesn't understand compassion and cherish the jade, so hard to pinch himself. "It's nothing. Our hometown still has skin whip, dripping wax, drinking urine, and torture in many ways." Ye Kong continued to intimidate. Lu Ruyun was really scared and said crying, "I dare not, please forgive me, I will never dare." Ye Kong let go and pushed her away and warned, "This is just a lesson. You remember it for me, I am not so easy to deal with, and next time, I will force you to die, and, I don't care what you do to others. Zij is my friend. If you harm him, I will avenge him. Don't look at you a few levels higher than me, you can try." Lu Ruyun wiped her tears, adjusted her clothes, and snorted and turned away. "Boy, so insulting me, I will make you pay." But when she rushed out of the door, she suddenly thought of a question. "Not good, what about Kiloo sachet? That guy stole it. I can think of Ye Kong's cruelty," and she gave a shiver, How dare you ask for it? Yekong took the scented bag, walked back to his room, and sighed, I hope you are safe and secure, don't force me to kill you. After saying that, he said to his ancestor, thanks to the reminder you just told me to close my pores, otherwise I will be alone. Huang Quan's ancestor laughed, it's you who are sensitive to Reiki, you don't say, I didn't find it. Huang Quan's ancestor then asked curiously again, what about the whip and dripping wax? Let me do it. No teaching. Not suitable for children. Huang Quan's ancestor fainted. My ancestor, I'm over 100,000 years old, still a child. Yekong sarcastically said, of course it's a child. Don't look at you with a big beard face, just look at your sparrow and see if it's a child. Go, the roar of Huang Quan's ancestors rang out in Yekong's mind. Without Lu Ruyun's harassment, Yekong was much quieter the next day. The Yujia Trading Company's alchemy is obviously better than the elixir left by Xiahui. After eating it, the meridians open up more smoothly, and the speed of refining Reiki is much faster. At the same time, Yekong took advantage of his spare time and produced a batch of lower-level magic charms, which mainly consisted of various charms and defensive charms. These were very well sold. Yekong meditates, and Huang Quan's ancestors are also meditating. What makes him happy is that the quality of Yanjia Yuan Dan, which was exchanged with the Thunderbolt, is surprisingly good. It is vaguely produced by a famous pharmacist, and has a great deal of damage to his spiritual knowledge. Benefit. In the blink of an eye, more than half a month later, the aura in the body was basically refined, and it seemed that Yekong would hit the fourth layer of gas refining, but on this day, Yekong received a note. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 113. Chapter 112 Killing. The note was sent by Ecchi. Recently, he and Lu Ruyun played fiercely, so let's not be so jovial, but these 2 days, Lu Ruyun talked about finding a cave of the ancient monk's treasure, so he had to explore it together. Zhajai himself is just in the middle of gas refining. The main consideration is to promote cultivation. The adventure is really dangerous to him, especially on the edge of the flood, there are many monsters and beasts. At first Zheji didn't want to go, but he couldn't help but Lu Ruyun coquettishly, so he reluctantly agreed. However, when he was out of the village, he suddenly remembered Yekong's original instructions, so he had an extra heart and secretly threw a note to Yekong. Yekong saw the note and immediately called out, no, Lu Ruyun is going to do it. Then, grabbing a few of the charms made on the table, and ready to go out and chase the direction of the note. But it was stopped by Huang Quan's ancestors. Hey, I said, people are willing to fight one by one, what kind of energy do you mix with? What should be said, he seeks his own way, what does it do to you if he dies? Yekong shook his head and said, this word is bad. Before Zheji left, he remembered to leave a note to me, indicating that he might be in a dangerous moment, thinking of my friend, let alone a friend, even a passerby. When in danger, you can think of asking me for help. This is a kind of trust. How can I ignore it? Huang Quan's ancestors were said to be irrefutable, and said, but that also scores time. Now you will hit the 4th floor. You are not the first time to upgrade. You should know that the moment of promotion will come at any time. If it's time to upgrade, do NT find a place to meditate as soon as possible, it will take a long time for the next time. Shouldn't it be so coincident? A lot of coincidences. Yekong froze, but picked up the banner and walked out the door. Old man, you know that I am a person who will never watch a friend go dead. Well. Huang Quan's ancestor shook his head and smiled bitterly, I don't know if you will be rewarded for doing so many stupid things. At the same time, a fierce battle is taking place in a dense 100,000 mountain. When Zhajai and Lu Ruyun came to a cave here, he was surprised to find that someone was already waiting for him. This man is his elder brother. The enemies were jealous when they met, and they were outside Zaza, and after Lu Ruyun's persuasion, the two quickly started to work. Hyuzan got the message that Zaji robbed his sweetheart. As long as he ambushed here and destroyed Zaji, Lu Ruyun followed him with peace of mind. But the information that Zaji got was that Hyuzan followed and disturbed his good deeds. In fact, two people confronted each other in such a matter, and the truth became clear, but the two have been complaining about women for a long time. After 3 words of meeting, they started fighting. I'm glad that the female Xiu Lu Ruyun, she is proud of her own plans, when they hit both defeats, they can ride one by one to absorb the power of the two. If after the successful refining, you can definitely enter the later stage of gas refining, maybe you can enter the 9th floor. It took me a month to soak these two men in exchange for 2 or even 3 layers of promotion. This practice speed is really cool. Of course, Lu Ruyun also thought about Ye Kong, and it was terrible to think of his cruel and ruthlessness, but she also thought that anyway, after the girl sucked, they would not go back. When it comes to Jidan, go and destroy you. Where do Zaji and Hyuzan know Lu Ruyun's poisonous mind? How do you know that a dozen or so men before them all became people at her? The two tried their best to kill each other. Zaji uses a chicken claw-like magic weapon. He is a messy person in front of Hyuzan. Hyuzan knows that he is terrible. Even if he wears a spiritual shield, he does not dare to resist. The horse fork made of animal bones stabs at Zaki. The two of them, a brother and a younger brother, are not much different from each other, and they are familiar with each other's attacks. Wow, praise, Ruyun is my woman. If you know each other, get away quickly. Otherwise I will cut you here. Fart. Ruyun is Laozi's woman. As long as you kill you, Laozi will fly with her. Ruyun likes me. The competition is natural, the strong survive, and the women are strong. The weak like you are not worthy of a woman. You mother is the weak. Who is strong and who is weak, see the real chapter under your hand. The more fierce the two were, the more happy Lu Ruyun was, but his face seemed worried about them, and he shouted, Zaji, don't fight, you can't beat him. Otherwise, hush, helper, Zaki is very powerful. The result of this kind of pull is that the fight is getting more and more fierce, and the man has a breath. Say I can't beat him. I have to kill him. After playing for a while, both of them exerted their full strength. At present, the spiritual power was a little bit behind. The two's spiritual shield was obviously dim, and the movement speed of dodging the opponent began to slow down. Zaki knows that his mana is slightly lower than the opponent's, and dragging it down is not good for himself. Boom, with a loud noise, I saw another chicken paw hitting Hyuzan's spiritual shield fiercely, breaking his shield down, and then the chicken paw pierced into Hyuzan's chest, blood. Light popped up. Haha, Hyuzan, you have known me for a couple of chicken feet for decades, haha, you die. Zaki prepared to control the chicken feet to praise Hyud. But this is Lu Ruyun, but he rushed up and cried, no. I don't want your brothers and sisters to treat me like you, don't fight. Taking advantage of Lu Ruyun's entanglement with Zaji, he praised the madness of Phelan Dafa, plucked the chicken feet from the wound, and took out a few drinks of lingju. The bone fork suddenly swelled up, struck the other chicken claw hook with lightning, and then a fork stabbed at Zaji. Like the cloud, flash, at the last minute, Zaki still pushed Lu Ruyun away. Two stupid men. Now it's your time, Lu Ruyun snorted in his heart, suddenly took out a copper bell, lifted his jade finger, and struck a ray of spiritual power. Kang, a ringing bell with a reverberation shook the two injured men on the field, dizzy and stunned by the severe injuries. The legs fell down first. Dang, another sound, and Zaki plopped down. Haha. Two stupid men, how could this girl fancy you? Look at the junk beast bone instruments you use, all of which are inferior products. This girl's Dementor bell, but my father's own high-quality instrument. Do you have any? Lu Ruyun snorted coldly. He walked over and looked at the two fainted men, and muttered, the surname is seriously injured, so he should first in his skills. Later, Lu Ruyun stuffed a pill into Zhajai's mouth, patted him, and said to himself, sleep for a while. Then she moved Huzan to the cave, put a sober pill in his mouth, and laughed, Huzan, this girl will make you happy before you die. When Huzan woke up, she saw a woman with tears on her face. Huzan felt powerless, and asked quickly, are you Yun, what is going on? Zhajai. Where is this? Lu Ruyun cried and said, Zheji is chasing and killing us behind. I saved this life to save you. Now we are hiding in a hidden cave. Huzan was touched, tears flowed from her eyes, and she struggled, why am I weak and unable to repair my body with spiritual power? It's because you're hurt too much. Whoa, blame me. Huzan angrily, what should I do? I have medicine in my storage bag. Zagi snatched the storage bag. Huzan was really anxious, what should I do? Ruyun save me. Lu Ruyun resisted laughing, frowning sadly, at present, there is only one way, the slave family has a double, the practice of repair. Only then can I save you, but if the slave family. Huzan's heart was faintly joyous, shit, this hurt wasn't in vain finally, you can get the beauty of beauty. Quickly said, are you Yun, rest assured, I swear praise and swear, today must be good to Lu Ruyun alone, if I violate this vow, I will not die of thunder and lightning. Then, okay Lu Ruyun pretended to be embarrassed, I will tell you the secret, wait, at that time, you remember to read, otherwise you will not be hurt. In a blink of an eye, Lu Ruyun had fallen off his long skirt. Huzan brother, all the slaves gave you to you Lu Ruyun said. Are you Yun, I like you, thank you, I can do everything for you. Yekong hadn't changed the flying instrument, so that he arrived a little late, when he walked into the cave that was as dark as a monster's mouth. I saw Lu Ruyun still swinging up and down, but the people below have been replaced with Zhajai. Hurry up and talk. Zich. Really? How about I come to read? Yekong snorted coldly, his big hand waved, and the small sword weapon was like a practice, and the mercury was swept away. Go die. Vicious woman. The small sword weapon grows in the wind, and one sword splits the unprepared Lu Ruyun into two sections. Blood is like a waterfall. Don't. Ruyun. Why did you kill her? Zaki lying and yelled. Why kill her? Look at this and you will understand. Yekong threw out Huzhan's body, just like a dead body. Zaki lowered her head and said nothing for a long time before sighing, are you Yun, actually I really like you. Yekong ignored him, looked at his wound, and found that he was okay, not serious. He asked him to send a note of his own, and then Yekong tore off Lu Ruyun's storage bag. However, Yekong hadn't even looked at what was inside, and found that he felt the impact of the fourth layer of gas refining. Not good. Gas refining is on the fourth floor. It's time to rise. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 114. Chapters 1 and 3 get stupid. Let me say, what do you do? Huan Quan sneered, I don't want to listen to the old man to suffer. It is definitely too late to go back. If you miss the present, Yekong is not willing to wait until the next time. 1 month or 2 months, he couldn't wait. Here it is. Yekong immediately took his decision, raised his hand to take out a spiritual array, and immediately set up a team next to Zhajai, ready to impact the fourth layer of gas refining in the cave. Be careful, the situation in this cave is unknown, Huan Quan's ancestor reminded. There should be no problem. Lu Ruyun's choice here means that she sees no one here to disturb. Ye Kongbu had a good formation and let Zhajai wait in peace, while he sat down cross-legged and prepared to impact the fourth floor. You feel shocked. When it doesn't work, I will shoot. Huang Quan's ancestor comforted Ye Kong, and his heart has made a decision. If there is an accident, he must kill Ziji after his shot. He must not let Ye people outside of space know his existence. It takes a day to a month for the average person to impact the upper level. Ye Kong's spiritual strength is very strong due to the cultivation practice, so it shouldn't take long. According to previous experience, 1 hour should be enough. And this other party is very hidden. In this short hour, there should be no monks passing here. After all, the 100,000 mountains is flooded behind, extremely vast. Who would happen to pass here at this time? Even if you pass by, you may not find anyone in the cave. In order to impact the 4 layers smoothly, Ye Kong swallowed the carved alchemy again. Suddenly a mysterious force penetrated into his limbs, followed by all the strange veins and 8 veins that filled him with aura, and then, those auras suddenly spread out to the square, a pain. Ye Kong's meridians reached the thickest and widest in history. Moment. Reiki runs more smoothly. Ye Kong feels that the aura in Ki is flooding to a critical point. Those auras are still expanding in a rhythm, just like the heart beats, and they go down and expand outwards, and what he has to do in the fastest and most fierce way, refining the last aura in the body and injecting the Ki. Ye Kong was hitting the 4th floor. Huang Quan's ancestor was very nervous. He even released his spiritual knowledge despite his lack of spiritual power and spread it within hundreds of meters. Lying down, Zhajai's heart surged, although he was rescued by Ye Kong, but he also complained about Ye Kong. Why kill the woman he loves at once? In fact, he didn't know that Ye Kong had already shown mercy to his subordinates, such as Lu Ruyun, otherwise he would definitely take out the soul of Lu Yun's soul, and make her unable to reincarnate forever. Zhajai is complaining about Ye Kong, but when he saw Ye Kong hitting the 4th layer of gas refining here, he couldn't stop blame. Others risked himself to save himself, and hit the next layer in the wild. Dangerous thing? And if he had listened to Ye Kong's persuasion early, these things would not have happened at all. The speed of Ye Kong's impact on the 1st layer is still very fast. First of all, the biggest feature of the 5 Elements Ascension Sutra is its strong and powerful spirit. Of course, it is easier to impact than other people. Second, the refining of 3 gases and 4 of refining gas are still very low level. The lower the level, the easier it is. In the end, he doesn't need to draw the aura from the air, as long as he refines the aura of Huang Quan's ancestors, which was absorbed by him, so the speed is naturally faster. But there is a saying that when people are unlucky, they drink their cold water and get their teeth stuck. In the short impact time of Ye Kong, a monk really passed through the air. Not good. Early in the foundation, the ancestor of Huang Quan's ancestor discovered this person for the first time. This boy is not too old, he is thin, and he is a casual repairman, known as a dead tree. Do nt look at this dead wood real person being too low, but it is also a very treacherous character. Think about it, a casual repair can build the foundation, and it is impossible without slyness, and what he does best is to take advantage of people in the wild, cultivate, then kill, and win. Therefore, when flying outside, he was especially careful not only to prevent others from harming himself, but also to watch for opportunities to harm others. Although he was old, his eyesight was so good that he saw a chicken claw-shaped instrument falling out of the cave at a glance. Hey, good luck. You can buy dozens of magic stones when you buy them. The dead wood was a joy. He threw the chicken claws into a storage bag, and his eyes fell on the dark cave. What's in there? The dead man's small eyes blinked twice, and he couldn't help but walked inside. Suddenly, a powerful spiritual knowledge locked him, so strong that he, the immortal in the early days of the foundation, could not judge the realm of the other party. Oh my God! It's the Dandan period. No, it's the UN infant period. The dead man in the wood gave his knee a slap. However, this boy is also very experienced in killing and winning treasures. He said, if it is true in the early infancy, I am afraid that he will kill himself at this moment. Why should he threaten himself with strong spiritual knowledge? Of course, some of the ancestors of Yuanying are very good-hearted and won't kill people indiscriminately. If so, go in and beg for it, that's okay. The dead wood stood for a while, the last one gritted his teeth, fight? He locked me in for so long and didn't take any action. There must be some reason. If he didn't go in and look, he would regret it when he died. Go in and see. I haven't killed the UN infant ancestor yet. The dead wood is nervous, and Huan Quan's ancestors are also nervous. Damn, this kid is not afraid of death. If it wasn't for Zaki's side, he had been sleeping hard for several years, and he would go out and kill this abominable guy. The dead wood came in and saw a spiritual seat like a soap bubble. This seat is made of water and aura, so it has a black background and can't see inside. Here, the water attribute is black, and many books have misunderstandings, thinking that water is white, and water attribute should be white. But the water property is black. Xiu is a dead man. I met my ancestors. I don't know if they can show up and let Xiu admire him. The words of the dead wood real man woke Zaiji lying down, and he looked back at Yekong and looked at the dead wood real man outside. My ancestors are practicing, you must not disturb, leave quickly, otherwise you will not be forgiven. This Zaiji was not a fool, and immediately followed the words of the dead wood and roared in the array. The dead man in the wood listened to it, startled, and hurriedly scratched his head. Please don't let your ancestors get angry, Xianxia will leave. Although Zaiji was clever, he forgot that he was injured and lacked energy at all. The weakness in his speech was difficult to hide. The dead man walked away after worshipping, but suddenly realized that the voice had shown signs of weakness and deliberate support. Could it be that the ancestor of Yuanying was seriously injured? Hiding here to heal? The dead man immediately stopped and replied, Old man, are you unwell? Xianxia has some healing elixir here. I want to send it to my old man, and ask my old man to come out and see. This medicine is a fake, the truth is true, the fool can understand. Zaki's heart was tense, but he had just entered the late stage of gas refining, and even if he was usually in the base period, he had to escape, not to mention being injured and unable to defend himself. The elixir is free, you hurry, cough. Zaiji was so excited that he didn't yell, but coughed. Immediately rejoices the dead wood. Damn, it's developed. The ancestor of this infant was seriously injured. I don't want to take the opportunity to kill him to win the treasure. Hey, my ancestor, let Xiu take you for a ride. The dead wood man raised his hand and took out a small golden seal from the storage bag. This Indian-style magic weapon is amazingly powerful, and it is most suitable for strong power arrays. Low-level arrays like spiritual sitting arrays can be broken as soon as they are pressed. Go, the dead wood hand raised a finger. I saw that Xiaoan flew over the formation method, and suddenly became extremely huge, as if a golden mountain hung above the formation method. Hey, ancestor, you don't have to do a powerful formation method to heal this kind of small array is disrespectful for redemption. The dead wood smiled with a smile, with a little finger. Boom, there was a loud noise, and a huge golden seal hit the spiritual seat, shaking the soap bubble-like formation almost to pieces. However, thanks to Yekong's painstaking efforts when drawing these matrix methods, the effect is very good, but he has stood up. Hum it again. I don't believe it's a bad method. Listening to the roar above his head, Zaji's coughing became more rapid. Spit. Zaki finally spit out blood and looked back at Yekong. Xiaodaiu, you treat me like a brother. You warned me 3 times and 4 times. Today, regardless of the risks, you risk it, and I am not a jerk. Xianxia stood up, swayed, and finally stabilized, then slowly walked out of the field. Brother Xia, I hope you can escape this disaster and take care. Ye Kong was immersed in the shock at this moment, and nothing outside him could be known at all. However, Huang Quan's ancestors could see clearly that this Ziji was preparing to use his disability and his life to take a moment to fight Ye Kong for that little time. At the critical moment, you can sacrifice yourself, and those who are about to die should always be respected. Huang Quan's ancestors suddenly remembered the words Ye Kong once said. Stupid boy, is your stupid disease contagious? Why are everyone around you stupid? Huang Quan's ancestor couldn't help scolding in his heart. Just as Ziji was about to walk to the edge of the spiritual practice, Huang Quan's ancestor decided to show up, and probably he became stupid, so he decided to come forward to rescue the barbarian kid. But at this moment, things turned for the better, attracted by the sound of the bursting, and the entrance of the cave went into a cultivator, and it was a celestial being in the foundation period. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 115. Chapter 14 Solve. The monk who came in was thin and waxy yellow, and had two slender beards on his lips. How uncoordinated and uncoordinated it was. When the ancestor Huang Quan saw this man, he felt anguish for a while. Wasn't this the last nun who wanted to assassinate Ye Kong in the Tibetan spring house? Although this female monk was not bad for Ye Kong in Beizai village, she didn't know the origin and was very hostile to Ye Kong. If she knew Ye Kong was meditating and struck the fourth layer of gas, she would probably come in and continue last unfinished behavior. Huang Quan's ancestors knew this, but Ziji didn't know it. He saw the female nun come in at a glance. Dao, your friend Xia Hui is impacting the fourth layer of gas refining, and quickly help to stop this guy, Zaki shouted, because he saw this monk greeting Xia Hui last time, thinking he was Ye Kong friend. Xia Hui, the female Xiu who walked in, was obviously confused. That's the eighth master you said. Ziji's reminder made Huang Quan's ancestors eager to rush to him and drove him to death. Didn't you lead the wolf into the room? Unexpectedly, the woman repaired it for a while, and wiped the storage bracelet on her wrist, and took out the octagonal sand dish of the best artifice. The female repairer did not hide her strength today. The strength in the middle of the construction period was daunting, not to mention that she brought a storage bracelet in her hand, and she took out the best magic weapon. The deadwood really didn't know it. Up. When not to wait now. Close, the deadwood beckoned against the high-hanging Jingguanjian, and took out a flying sword from the storage bag. Misunderstanding and misunderstanding, Xiao Xiu will go now. The deadwood reel stepped on the flying sword and fled. Huh, right? You want to leave now, it's late, Nu Xiu sighed angrily, threw an octagonal sand dish, and then followed. Seeing them leave, Zaki could no longer control his injuries, and his feet were soft and collapsed to the ground. I don't know if that nun has killed the deadwood, just listening to the outside crackling, roaring, and clear roaring. Huang Quan's ancestors only hoped that they could fight for a while, and that Ye Kong could successfully break through the fourth layer of gas refining, so that they could hope to escape from this nun. However, today's luck is not good. After a loud noise outside, everything was calm, and then she saw the female face come in gracefully. Hey, boy, dare to insult me like that, is your revenge here today? The female nun caressed her two-shouldered mustache, regardless of type, and proudly circled outside the spiritual practice. Huang Quan's ancestors followed the nun Xiu. He did not scare her again with the spirit pressure, just did not scare the deadwood real person. Now it has no use. Under the attack of real deadwood, the formation method has been shaken and can't be beaten. Huang Quan's ancestors are ready. As long as the female Xiu dare to attack and sit, he will immediately shoot. Little hair thief. You are not very dragging. You come out to me. You dare to scold me, I'm not finished with you. There are those who were talking inside just now, you come out to me. The kid meditates and hits the fourth floor, don't you need to shock? Come out with my aunt, Master Ben, and play too. What stunned Huang Quan's ancestors was that the female nun did not attack the formation, but could not stop yelling and swearing. Coward, don't you want to see me hit me once? Master Ben is outside. Even if you rush to the fourth layer of gas refining, Master Ben can pinch you to death. Not to mention, this female Xiu is very strong, scolded the old for a long time, scolded Huang Quan's ancestors upset. Shit, is there a psychological problem with this woman? You have to fight to kill it. Fortunately, after a while, the people in Beizongjai finally came. Under the leadership of an early captain, there were 4 monks in the gas refinement period. When they came in and saw the Yirong female nun, they were shocked. The mid-building period, or the peak of the mid-building period, the 6-story building, threatened them. Who are you? Several monks at Beizai immediately became nervous, and took out their instruments, preparing to fight. Who are you again? The nun was also very polite. She stood in front of her, and with a storage bracelet, the superb octagonal sand plate was held in her hand. At first glance, the mustache monk turned out to be so arrogant. The monk of Beizongjai secretly grieved. His level was higher than he wouldn't say. The magic weapon was also very powerful. He was also a high-quality weapon. Dao, this is the case. We received a note from a monk in this door saying that he was in danger and is currently injured. We came to take him back to the village after the lead monk said, Ben, an elder with a dandan period will come later. The female Xiu Leng hummed, to save a monk who keeps the gate, do you need an elder with a dandan period? She dared to know who was talking inside. The lie of the lead monk of Beizai was revealed, his face was red, and he insisted, if we send a note now, Elder Jadan will come. Come here to collect your corpses. At the first sight of the monks, everyone said something bad, and each of them had put on flying instruments and was ready to escape at any time. But I saw the mustache suddenly laughed again, don't be busy, I often go to your city to buy things, so let you go today. The leading monk was relieved, thanking him, and said, Senior, our young Ziozaji from Beizai village, I don't know what kind of beam we have with the senior, can we give us the punishment to ensure your satisfaction? The female Xiu shook her head. I have no resentment against him, but my friend is hitting the realm at the moment. I don't want you to disturb him. Huang Quan's ancestors could not hear the head of the second monk, and said that the woman's heart was under the sea, and this change was too fast. Last time I was going to assassinate Yekong, but I was still swearing, but now she treats Yekong as a friend and defends her. Does she have water in her head? As soon as the monk Beizai heard that everyone had a misunderstanding, he sat peacefully and waited. Wait for Yekong to hit the 4th layer of gas refining, open your eyes and look, our ancestor, is there a meeting outside? When is Yekong's popularity so good? There are actually 2 base building periods and 4 gas refining periods for me. Huang Quan's ancestors smiled bitterly. I don't understand, but in my opinion, the crisis is not over. Sure enough, when Yekong opened up the spiritual practice, he passed the fainted Zaiji to monk Beizai, and after explaining the situation, the female practitioner took out the octagonal sand plate and walked up. Boy, don't you know me? Yekong already recognized this woman in Beizongjai, but she pretended not to know it at the moment, with a doubt on her face. Senior, you are a fairy in the middle of the foundation period. I have just entered the middle of gas refining. How can I know you? The female Xiu was still very satisfied with her Yirongshu, and snorted proudly, I'm sorry you can't see it, I remind you, Tibetan Spring House. What Tibetan Spring House? Xiao Xiu has been practicing in the Bone Spirit Gate before, but has not been here. Yekong was going to finish the installation silly to the end, and then asked, the Tibetan Spring House is a strange name, I don't know. Where to go? Nu Xiu's face was red, and her heart cursed, just pretend. Boy, are you still pretending to be me? Seeing you hide your head and covering your face is not a good thing. If you pretend, you are not afraid that I will go to Beizongjai to announce your true identity, laughed. Yekong didn't say a word, and was annoyed at heart. It's abominable for this woman to have her own identity. The nun saw that he didn't speak, and smiled proudly. Ha, let me guess why you pretend to be a monk of the Soul Gate? Is that Xiaohui who lost your hand? Yekong was forced to retreat by her, and she became angry and angry. What the are you doing? In Zhangchun Tower, I just walked to the wrong room, and you will take my life. I will provoke you. You is NT that overbearing? The female monk was stunned by what he said. It was indeed that she had just come out from training, had insufficient experience, and almost killed the wrong person. But then she had a reason. Even if I was wrong, I was shocked by your master. Why did you insult me with such dirty words? If you inexplicably make a plan, you are even more vicious than me. Yekong was not afraid. I won't scold people. The female Xiu took a sip, and said, if it weren't for me, you'd be dead just now, and the golden light of that dead wood real person would make you 2 more times and smash you. Just right, you kill me once and save me again, and we're even. Yekong arched his hand. Thank you for your help from the older generation. Minor repairs, there is still something, don't leave it. Don't run away at this time, but when do you wait? Stop. What about you insulting me? Would you like to even out? Nu Xiu said later. Want to fool this girl? No way. Then you'll scold it back. Xiao 11 promises not to say anything back. You can scold it, no matter how dirty it is. No. I never scold anyone. Huan Quan ancestor hummed. I didn't know who the little hairy thief scolded for a long time. Yekong immediately and mercilessly exposed her lies. You just scolded for so long out of front. The nun Jiu flushed, her feet stunned. I'm not cursing. Then you scold me. Do you want me to teach you a few words? Yekong is also brave and brazen, facing the female nun who is a level higher than himself, even showing no cowardice. However, he is such a person, and he has no fear at all in the humaning period. The female Xiu looked at Yekong. Qiu Shuiming's eyes turned, and she suddenly laughed. I have a very fair solution. You said. As long as you can stop my shot, we're done. I'm leaning. Yekong was spitting blood depressively. You built 6 layers of foundation, and 4 layers of gas. I blocked you from a blow? Are you kidding me? Can I stop me? This is also called a fair plan. You are shameless than me. You scold me again. I don't, it's a buzzword in our hometown. The female practitioner did not understand what I was relying on, and thought again, I promise not to kill you. Don't you just want to torture me? Yekong arched another hand and threw out the animal bone weapon. Senior, there will be a period later. Little thief, want to escape? Nu Xiu had already prepared, smiled proudly, and raised her hand. An octagonal sand pan flashed, covering Yekong's head in an instant, radiating with golden light, enveloping Yekong, and the next moment, the scene in front of Yekong changed. He seemed to have entered a world of yellow sand, not a desert, and the desert would not be covered with yellow sand all over the sky. Sand is at the feet, sand is at the top of the head, sand dunes are in front of him, and a tornado formed by yellow sand is chasing behind. Does this woman sell yellow sand in her house? The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 116. Chapter 115, Shalingan. This superb weapon is really powerful. Huan Quan's ancestor also couldn't help but praise the exit. He also said, if you haven't guessed wrong, 80% of this woman is a mutant spiritual root, a sand spiritual root, otherwise this magic weapon will not be used. So powerful. And Shalingan, Yekong asked as he flew. Of course, if it is a dual spirit root with metallic and soil properties, there is a great chance that it will mutate into a Sen spirit root. This is nothing. My ancestor, I also saw a dark spirit root that is only sensitive to corpses. Oh, Yekong nodded and asked, where do I fly now? Huang Quan's ancestor shook his head. In my opinion, flying to nowhere is useless. Her instrument has trapped you in a psychedelic array. If there is no correct line, you will always spin inside. No, Yekong originally wanted to fly in one direction, flying out of this range. Now it seems that it is delusional. Smelly girl, you don't kill me, you are trying to trap me, Yekong raised his head and roared. Ah, Yekong answered with a burst of yellow sand covering his face. Then in the sky, a proud laugh of the female Xiu sounded, ha ha, little thief, I can't stop you from one move, dare to scold me? Now you know the consequences. Yekong was ashamed by the yellow sand of the sky, and said angrily, don't be too happy, see my white light. After the small sword weapon was split, there was a huge white light, so Yekong himself called a nice name, called Bai Guangzhi. Then he took off the small sword on his waist, raised a finger, and groaned in his mouth, big. The small sword weapon soared, and it finally became a giant sword hanging in the air. White light cut. The great sword with white light slammed on a dune opposite. Boom, the dune was split in half instantly, and countless sand dust was shaken into the air. However, all of them are still yellow sand. White light cuts. White light will cut. It cracked for a while, the effect was nothing, but the air quality seemed worse. The voice of the nun in the sky resounded again, Chinese-style magic instruments can exert such great power in your hands. It seems that I look down on you, but you want to cut away, I advise you to die this hard. Is there a clever man in Rishan, is there no way to go out? Yekong retrieved the implement, opened Lu Ruyun's storage bag, and wanted to find something available. At a glance, I saw the decent bell of the top-grade instrument, and a flying weapon of a woman, Zhonghonghong, and there were more than 300 spirit stones. Is this evil girl rich? Yekong said. Huang Quan's ancestor sighed, if it wasn't for her lack of defense at the time, if you wanted to kill her, it would not be so easy. Well, Yekong nodded and asked, will these instruments help us get out of here? Huang Quan's ancestor shook his head and said, it's useless. Will I be trapped here? Yekong anxiously. Huang Quan's ancestor laughed. I don't think she has any intention of killing. You might as well stay inside and meditate. She has that patience, and I don't have that patience. Yekong asked again, what about you? This superb magic weapon. Said Huang Quan's ancestors, for a while, I can stand out with strength, but I have slept for at least 50 years. Yekong stunned, if this is the case, then forget it, I want to go out myself. An octagonal sandbox wrapped Yekong. He couldn't see outside, but the monk could clearly see his every move, watching him scratch his ears and cheeks, and the nun giggled happily. But soon, I heard Yekong look up and shout, oh, sister, senior sister, I'm anxious, I'm anxious. The monk blushed and yelled, you fix it on the spot. No, it's big, it's smelly. It's not good to stain the beach of the seniors, Yekong said, pretending to take off his pants. Wait, the nun shouted suddenly. Yekongli is proud, huh, you are all over the yellow sand, and I'm afraid I will pull a bowel movement. He shouted pretendingly anxiously, oh no, the seafood is too much at noon, diarrhea, you can let me out quickly, otherwise I can't help it. The female Xiu Qiao blushed. People who cultivated immortals rarely ate and drank. There was no shit, but she was a little afraid that the boy really unfastened his pants, and the thing was really ashamed. And many more. Yekong, trapped in the sand array, heard the call of a nun from the sky above her head. Hey, you can't help it now, You have to let me out. The moment Ye thought that the nun was about to let herself out, suddenly, I saw the sand dunes under my feet bulging, and then the sand below rolled up, as if a monster was surging below. No, Ye Kong exclaimed, and just wanted to fly away. But the dunes grew up instantly, straight into the sky, and I didn't know where there was so much sand. With just a blink of an eye, a tall sand mountain appeared. And Ye Kong was drowned in the billowing yellow sand. Hum. Poop, stay inside and pull slowly, the nun snorted proudly. But after waiting for another moment, she found that there was no movement in the sandy mountain. According to her guess, Ye Kong should easily climb out of it. Although it will be ashamed, it will not be life-threatening. And if it doesn't come out for so long, then it is dangerous, and the nun is even worried. Scatter, the nun quickly snorted, the sandy mountain came fast, and quickly, disappeared instantly. And Ye Kong, which was supposed to be inside, disappeared without any shadow left. She stomped angrily, "Little thief! You escaped again, this thing is not over," but then, she meditated again, how can this little thief escape? It's strange. At the same time, at a corner of the 100,000 mountains. Where is this time, Ye Kong was looking around. When he came out, the sky was not dark, but now it was dark. Huan Quan was also curious about Ye Kong's instant relief. "Hey, boy, what do you use? There is no water in that place, it can't be leeches, and there's no soil, and no hoe. What kind of amulets do you use?" Ye Kong haha laughed, "Thanks to the preparation of the little master, that day I drew a sand charm with metallic and earthy auras." "Sand rune? Still this rune?" Huan Quan's ancestor asked curiously. Ye Kong smiled proudly, "Hey, my ancestor, it's my turn to teach you this time, and you listen to me. In fact, the painting methods of all kinds of runes are the same, but the aura used in painting is different. If you use the aura of water to draw a pen, you will see a water rune. If you use the aura of soil, it will become a rune. Then if you use 5 auras together, can you make a rune suitable for use in any place?" Huan Quan ancestor asked again. "Yeah," Ye Kong gleamed before his eyes. "Father, you are smart now. Try it later." Amulets, although the effects of teleportation similar to the ancestors of the ancestors can appear, but not far away, so Ye Kong flew around. It is easy to find the 100 Insects Xifang City, which seems to be a pearl in the mountains. I recently lived in Beizongjai, and I was familiar with those guards. I greeted the gatekeeper, and Ye Kong returned to the small building where he lived. He was not anxious to draw the rune, but took out Lu Ruyun's storage bag. "Haha, I finally have a superior attack weapon." Ye Kong took the Dementor Bell out. "Well, this is a good magic weapon. It's rare. It will be stunned when it is low. Even if it is high, there will be a momentary delusion. Just use a flying sword." It killed him. Huan Quan's ancestors finished, but said without worry, "This female nun is not high, but has these relatively high-end instruments. There must be support from the monks who engaged in the realm behind you. You saved Jia today, Ji. Many people know that you should be extra careful when you go out, especially these instruments. Don't take them out easily, otherwise you may cause a fatal disaster." "Well, I know. I'll refine both the Dementor Bell and Hung Hom first." Although Lu Ruyun was a few levels higher than Ye Kong, she practiced evil cult methods and had a shallow foundational spiritual power. Therefore, Ye Kong spent only 2 days refining these 2 instruments. Wow, this red lotus is mainly the effect of flying. The magic weapon in this woman's hand must not be slow. Let's go out and try. Out of Beizai village, came to an uninhabited place. Ye Kong retracted the animal bone weapon, took out Hakajo's red lotus, and called out big. I saw that the red magpie grew up to Hakajo and flew freely in the air. Not only was the area large, but the red fluttering was very beautiful. It's okay to bring a dozen people with you. Yekong stood on the red loquat with satisfaction, and when he flew, the speed was much faster than the animal bone weapon, and that speed couldn't be compared at all. Yes, but it's a bit feminine. Yekong put away Hung Hum and asked Huang Quan's ancestor, our ancestor, I want to take this Hakajo Hung Hum to the refinery shop above Fang City to modify it, so as to prevent being seen by others, does not make people think it is for women. Huang Quan's ancestor said, it's okay, but the Dementor bell cannot be changed. It doesn't matter, I just don't take it out easily. When Beizai Fang City is not open, it is actually doing business. The only difference is that there are many temporary stalls in the square when the market is open. When the market is not open, only the companies on the street behind do business. However, this is not important to Yekong. None of the temporary booths has the service of a refining machine. No one will feel relieved to hand over their materials to those temporary booths for refining. When I came to the refiner's shop, he was a master, and he looked very honest. He should not play fake and shoddy like Eagle Bald. The master did not ask, this instrument is good, why should we change it? In fact, this kind of business often happens. Many people kill and win treasures and dare not use it. It only costs some money to remake the instrument so that it can be used in public without being used found out. Well, this weapon can be changed to a flying cloth, but after the change, the bundled function disappears, and only the flying function remains, the master said after watching it. Yekong is a bit depressed. If there is no bundling function, then there is only the flying function. It is better to buy a flying instrument again. That's it. Yekong didn't want to do it now. But the master said again, in fact, it is not impossible to change the function without loss, just add some thorns and other materials. There is no honest person who dares to do business. This master wants to increase the price. You say, how much money do you want to add? Yekong said generously. He himself made more than 100 spirit stones. He got more than 300 from Lu Ruyun. Thinking of just coming here, only 10 were poor. Here comes a spirit stone, now it is considered a grandfather. You need to add 300 spirit stones. No, it's so expensive. I might as well buy a new flying weapon. Yekong opened his mouth wide. Look at it. The lower grade flying instrument Qinghongyu also sells more than 200 spirit stones. You are a Chinese grade weapon. The flying speed and the effect of bundled immortals are much stronger than the Qinghongyu. 300 spirit stones are not expensive. The master has never been soft-spoken about such black goods. 205. 300. 206. 300, this old guy is darker than the bald eagle. 277, Master, I have only 4 layers of gas. Where can I have so many spiritual stones? 207, yeah, you can, but you need to add 3 fronts. Yekong fainted. The old guy was not only savvy, but also very clear about the market. He even knew that he was the one who painted the symbols. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 117. Chapter 116. Coming out of Master Heisen, Yekong went to see Zaiji, who was in the injury. Behind Beizai Fang City is the gate of Beizai. Go inside and ask a few monks passing by. It is easy to find the place where Zaiji lives. When he came here, Zaki was in a daze. As a monk, as long as he didn't die, his injuries were easy to recover. In fact, the monk was most afraid of the injury. If the ocean was destroyed, it would all be destroyed. There is no chance of cultivation. Zaiji's key eye was not injured, and other body parts were injured. With the help of his own Reiki and elixir, he had basically recovered in 2 days. However, he still looked debilitated. Yekong knew that what really hurt him was his heart. He fell in love with a woman with one heart. Who knew that woman was trying to harm him? Yekong used to comfort him, but the effect was not obvious. This kind of injury often takes time to recover from me. Reliance on others' words is generally not effective. Coming back from Zakana, Yekong buried his head and started making the all-powerful amulets of 5 auras. If such a charm is made, then don't sell it, and don't tell others. This is our life-saving means, Huan Quan's ancestor said on the side and kept talking. He looked very excited. In fact, Yekong is also very excited. Think about it, if there is a magic charm that can be taken away on any occasion, then you are insured for your safety, no matter who you are, and on any occasion, you have the opportunity to slip away instantly. The world is big, who else can take his life? This is a small step for me, but a big step for the cultivator of immortals, Yekong said courageously. Then he took a sigh of relief, lifted the pen, dipped it in the spirit juice, carried the pen with the spirit, walked around the wrist. If the nib swam the dragon, it was urgent or slow, or light or heavy. This time, Yekong injected an average of 5 auras into the eyebrow pen of Wolf Brow, and the wood, water, fire, and soil were evenly injected. Symbols are more difficult to draw than matrix symbols, but they are simpler than other symbols. In the tea time, a note is basically drawn. Looking at Yekong's charms, Huan Quan's ancestors were also very nervous. It was such a lucky thing to see the appearance of such an anti-sky object. There is one last, muttered in Huan Quan's ancestor, and he was nervous to die. The symbol that can be used on any occasion is coming. Yekong Li was also a little nervous, but he restrained hard, and the sign was most afraid of emotional instability. When he drew the last stroke, he fused all the structures. The runes made of silver lines suddenly became brighter and brighter. The aura of various colors seemed to be a high-speed train running wildly on all highways. This is a phenomenon that has never happened before. If it succeeds, the runes will flicker, and then dimmed. All the spiritual power is sealed, waiting for the user to excite the moment. If it fails, it will bang and become the flames disappeared. Today's scene is different. After Yekong's last fall, the lines of the runes light up, all kinds of auras are shining brightly and moving wildly, and the auras around their bodies are also crazy. Absorbed into the small rune paper. What's it like? Yekong looked at Huan Quan's ancestor in surprise. This rune is ready to start, Huan Quan's ancestor roared out. Indeed, the sight of this nameless rune is just like the other magical signs, when it is excited, but it seems so crazy at this moment, it makes people have a bad feeling. Anonymous amulet madly absorbs the aura between heaven and earth. After a while, the low-grade rune paper of the lower grade finally could not meet the influx of powerful aura, and those runes could not be suppressed, and they were sustained by the continuous aura and almost collapsed. Not good. Fast, Huan Quan's ancestors couldn't care less what to say, and drilled into the small sword weapon at the fastest speed. Almost at the same time, Yekong couldn't care less about closing down the spiritual practice, and ran straight out. The moment he ran out of the array, he only heard a loud sound behind him, a loud noise. The powerful explosion instantly destroyed the spiritual group, and even the small building was lifted off the roof, and the restraint outside the small building was shaken. What's going on? The loud noise and shock made everyone in Beizai village nervous. Some knowledgeable senior monks immediately smiled proudly. Don't be nervous, it's not that the enemies have killed, this is a blast. It's a blast. At the same time, the roar of Huan Quan's ancestors also rang in Yekong's mind. Fortunately, Yekong escaped from the spiritual practice in time, coupled with the defense of the ink armor on his body, otherwise he would have to be seriously injured this time. What is a psychic explosion? Yekong patted the dust on his body. Huan Quan's ancestor said slowly, it is said that under rare circumstances, When the 5 elements in the air reach a certain density and proportion, they will trigger a shocking aura explosion. The power of this explosion is stronger than the explosive in the world. Many, even with the level of immortal spells, can't keep up with spirit explosion. This is a burst of aura, which is extremely powerful for the Xiu. However, such auras rarely occur, and they happen only in places where various attributes and auras are abundant. Yekong was startled. Since the power is so great, why hasn't anyone studied how to control spirit burst? Huang Quan's ancestor shook his head and said, the power of psychic explosions is huge, especially for those who are immortal. Some psychic explosions may seem weak, but they can destroy monks for hundreds of years. So no one dares to study this stuff. Dare to love this is the atomic bomb, Yekong laughed. Although he did not study the charm suitable for all occasions, he did come up with an atomic bomb, which surprised Yekong very much. Although Huang Quan's ancestors warned him not to engage in such things to avoid harming others, but Yekong, I have my own idea. Then all the monks in Beizongjai came. Of course, Yekong only had a pretense of knowing nothing. After all, the previous explosions in the Kangnan continent were caused by nature. No one would believe Yekong, a low-level miner repairer on the 4th floor of gas refining, will cause aura. The scale of the blast this time is not too great, and the loss is not great, so Beizongjai did not delve into it. Instead, he apologized to Yekong and asked him to change to an independent residence. 2 days later, another month of Fangxi started. Zhang Wulin, who had some gains last month, came to Fangxi early with a large amount of low-grade and low-grade intermediate rune paper. Yekong got in touch. Congratulations to Xiaoxiao on another level. Zhang Wulin saw at a glance that Yekong was already the 4th layer of gas refining, which surprised him a bit. Others said that the 5 elements of the spiritual roots could never reach the middle of gas refining, but he didn't have much effort to see Yekong. He succeeded once, which made him feel that the rumor could not be believed. Haha, I just have to consolidate qi. Is there any good? Congratulations, Yekong smiled and patted his storage bag, and a lot of various charms appeared on the small table. So many lower order magic charms. Are you made this month? Zhang Wulin was so shocked that his jaw was about to fall to the ground, even more surprised than seeing Yekong level up. Although Zhang Wulin had been mentally prepared, so many amulets still stunned him. You must know that Yekong has to practice both the level and the amulet this month. What about the sign? In fact, Yekong recently relied on spirit wine to supplement his spiritual power. Often he drank a few spirit wine and continued to use it. During this time, I do not know how much spirit wine he drank, and his BT success rate made so many charms are not hard work. Did the lower grade blank rune paper bring you? Yekong was concerned about this. He rose to the 4th level of refining gas, and desperately wanted to make a higher level magic charm. No matter in terms of profit or power, the lower level magic charm is much stronger than the lower level ones. Brought Zhang Wulin quickly took out the blank rune paper. However, when he looked at the hundreds of charms on the table, he still dared not to reach out. Even if they were all low-grade charms, they could sell thousands of spirit stones. Zhang Wulin didn't dare to think that thousands of spirit stones are astronomical figures. Not to mention that in the middle of gas refining, even the disciples who built the foundations, they would have violent eyes when they saw thousands of spirit stones. Xiaoxiao, give me so many amulets. It's not good, I'll sell a little and get a little more, Zhang Wulin said with a saliva. In fact, he wasn't sure if he really took these amulets. Absconding Yekong didn't expect to see him drooling, and laughed. You do not have to be suspicious if you use people. If you really want to covet these magic, you think about it later. You think if you come again next month, hundreds of tables on this table are inferior middle level charms, how much money will you make by then? After Zhang Wulin listened sharply, he scolded himself. How much money these amulets can make together, but the transfer is only a small fortune. If you want to make a big fortune in a long-term and stable way, you can only have a good relationship with this kid. Long-term cooperation. Xiaoziao, Zhang must send the spirit stone in a lot of money. Zhang Wulin respectfully made a note, put away all the charms, left the small building, and went out to rent a booth. Hundreds of spirit charms were stored in the storage bag. Zhang Wulin was full of heart. He came to his long-term rental booth, dropped 25 spirit stones, paid 5 days of rent, and opened a low-level symbol shop. I want Zhang Tiofu, and your amulet is indeed much stronger than Yunfuge. It's been a dozen miles and it's really too strong. What other amulets do you have? I'll take a look. Praise. A monk behind also echoed, that amulet is also good. A cloth can be used for a long time at the practice site. It is only necessary to pull out the spirit stone in and out. Conveniently, I don't have to set the flag every time. The business was booming, and Zhang Wulin was also happy. They were all old customers. When they bought a few, the monks passing by were infected, and they all asked, "Okay, is this really the case? Or me? Come one." Having fun in Zhang Wulin, suddenly a monk with a slender beard came over and said from a distance, "Hey! Did you sell me the thunder curse last time?" To the reader. Sorry, something has happened with Xiaomenjia recently, and the update speed is insufficient. It will be updated normally in June, and there will be an outbreak. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 118. Chapter 117. Grab Business. When Zhang Wulin saw this man's cultivation, it seemed that he was in the refining last time. This time, it was the 6th floor of the base. He was frightened. However, it was really dangerous to get into such a great monk. He was a little scared. When the guy left last time, he said that he came to the stalls when his power was not strong enough, and he did not know if Xiaoziao's thunder fire curse was strong. The monks who bought things around also quickly dispersed, although fighting is prohibited in Fangji, but if it makes the Jixian people unhappy, they will not dare to go out of this Fangji. Senior, the last time the Thunderbolt was sold here, Zhang Wulin didn't dare to conceal it. He could only tell Xiaoziao if he couldn't do it. Who told him that there was something wrong with the amulet he painted? Unexpectedly, the real man in Zuji put a storage bracelet, took out a large bottle and put it on the stall, and said, "You Thunderbolt works well, this is 100 Yanjia Yuan Dan, and give me 4 more." The wealth and generosity of the Zuji immortal stunned the little monks for a while. The heart said that 100 Yanjia Yuandans are more than 100 spirit stones. So many spirit stones can buy a sublime magic weapon. Why do you buy a magic charm for one use? Well, it takes only 4 times for 100 spirit stones. Is it worth it? But then they heard something that shocked them even more. A guy who just built a base was actually chopped to death by the thunderbolt. The monks are boiling. Oh my god, a magic charm smashes the building base fairy. This power is too powerful. Although the power of the magic charm has a certain relationship with the cultivation of the user, this relationship is not as direct as spells and cultivation. That is to say, the building spells and the Kilian monks use the same spells. The power is not very different. I'll buy one later. Thunderfire curse, is it Thunderfire curse? The other monk nodded. Yes, only the lightning spells have such power. The base period can be hacked. If I bought the rune last time, I don't have to be beaten to escape this time. Yeah, the last time I saw it, I just couldn't bear to be 25 spirit stones, and regretted death. During the discussion among a group of young monks, Zhang Wulin wiped his sweat. It turned out to be a good thing, but when he explored the spiritual knowledge in the storage bag, he panicked again. No. There are only 2 Thunderfire spells. Zhang Wulin didn't dare to offend the Zuji Xianren, but he quickly said politely, "Senior, I have 2 more here. If you hold them first, I will send a note. Let our runes draw now. Why is it enough to draw now? The Tsukiji fairy is a little displeased. If you do nt have it, do nt fool me. Everyone knows that the more powerful the spell, the lower the success rate. God. Zhang Wulin saw his dissatisfaction and laughed. The fairy is not upset. The success rate of my teacher is relatively high. As long as he is free, it is preferable to wait. The Zuji immortal was startled. There are still such masters in this 100-insect village? You don't need to send a note, can you tell me the location? I will come to see you myself. The Tsukiji people heard that there were such a powerful rune master, and they were a little surprised, and now they became friends. Zhang Wulin didn't dare to let the Zuji immortal visit in person, and said quickly, the immortal is in no hurry. My Fushi is just a 4-layer refining of gas refining. Zhang Wulin spoke to Yekong with a note, but how did he know that Yekong took the inferior middle order note paper and went out to look for the seeds of inferior middle level spirit grass? Did not get a response. Seeing that the immortals of Zuji were waiting impatiently, Zhang Wulin had no choice but to say, Senior, my teacher may be out. He lives in the 8th building in the 2nd row of the concierge building. His name is Xiahui, which is Bone Monk of the Spirit Gate. Zhang Wulin thought that the immortal Zuji would nod and leave. Who knew the immortal stared and said, is that the thief? Will he still make a charm? Zhang Wulin was depressed and had a bad heart. He even knew each other, but the name of the thief didn't seem to be related. Seniors know my family. He wanted to talk to my teacher, and he hurriedly changed his mouth, for fear of dragging himself in. A little bit of grudge, but I already understand it. The Tsukiji immortal gasped and made Zhang Wulin startle again. At this moment, Yekong is walking around the Fang market. He wants to buy the middle-level spiritual grass seeds to make the middle-level spiritual charm. Every 10 pieces of poisonous dragon grass seeds are good for refining elixir. After a month's market break, today's Fang City is lively again. Yekong walked over and looked in the end, he shook his head and walked away. The price was too expensive. He just asked for a medium-grade spirit grass. There was no need to buy such good seeds. After passing through the stalls one after another, he didn't meet the right seed, but just saw the Yi family business opened. As the most famous company in the Kangnan mainland, the semicolon opened. Today is full of monks, just like the opening of new supermarkets on the planet. Of course, there are also promotional methods. Supermarkets on the planet like to sell cheap eggs. Attract the old man and the old lady, and today's promotion turned out to be, Yekong is about to vomit blood, and the Yi family business promotion turned out to be a spiritual training team. The Yi family business opened the bargain. The deities of the spiritual practice array have a variety of attributes, each sells only 2 spiritual stones, each person can only buy 2, a guy shouted loudly. Yekong is a little annoyed. Damn, you can just learn it. Why are you still selling it here to grab my business? Although he is no longer focusing on selling symbols, he is still angry when he sees this scene. Even Huan Quan's ancestors shouted, shameless. Too shameless. These adulterers. However, Yekong only smiled bitterly. After all, anyone can learn this thing, and there is no property protection law in the Kangnan continent. Everyone can learn it when they read it. Boy, the special charms you make in the future can be a little secret, otherwise they will be learned, Huan Quan ancestor reminded. As reminded by Huan Quan's ancestors, Yekong is a bit new. If a protective film is added to the pattern of amulet, it is like a security mark, blocking the line pattern. As soon as the protective film is destroyed, the amulet will become white paper. Isn't that enough? However, this is just an idea. If you really want to do it, you need to experiment. What materials and seals are used to prevent them from being cracked? This is not something that can be worked out every day or two. Of course, the best way is to have some special spells, don't sell them, I use them by myself, how do you learn? Although Yekong was very indignant at this kind of open business grabbing, but he couldn't do anything about it. After all, there was a monk Jadan sitting in the town, but he was not a sullen man, never. Call out your executive affairs. Yekong walked over to the young man who was sipping. Are you brother Xia? I didn't expect people to have been prepared for a long time, the boy laughed. The senior executive said, if you come, just go upstairs. Lead the way ahead, Yekong said coldly. When I saw Gao Yuanyang, the old guy was happily standing at the window and looking downstairs. On the table were a few rare spiritual fruits, and he hummed in a strange key. Business is hot. Yekong laughed sarcastically, executives, you are very leisurely. Oh, Xia Xiao, sit down. Gao Yuanyang greeted Yekong and sat down, then handed the fruit on the table and said, come and taste, iceberry, a special product of the cold country, rare, juicy and delicious, and the effect of nourishing and nourishing. Nourishing and nourishing. After listening to Gao Yuanyang's words, Yekong fell a little in love. However, instead of worrying about other things, he put the fruit handed over on the table and sneered, I want to ask the executives, what is the character of the spiritual practitioners selling downstairs? Gao Yuanyang knew that he had lost money, and said with a smile, Xia Xiao is anxious. When opening the new store, we must prepare a batch of cheap and attractive items to attract customers. Think about it. As long as the symbol is the most suitable. The painting method, let us run some of the Yi family's fuxi, but rest assured, we are just a few days of opening for advertising. I promise, after opening, we will never sell such arrays. You sell this stuff is smelly, will anyone buy it in the future? Actually, Yekong didn't want to draw the symbol, but he still looked like eating like this, and he said again, Yu Yi family. Speaking of the first company on the mainland, the company is a trustworthy company and a child-friendly company. Isn't it obvious that you are bullying? If you have such a big business, you want to grab a business with me, a little teacher? Isn't it too much? Gao Yuanyang smiled bitterly, this is no other way. After he said it, he whispered, actually, this is the plan set by our young master, that is, the old ancestor you saw that day. She said, I can't help it. Hearing that Gao Yuanyang took the shadow woman out as a shield, Yekong was annoyed. The woman despised that she could not rise to the middle of refining gas last time, which made him very unhappy. Since it's her account, let me see you. I'll talk to her. Gao Yuanyang said, our young master said, you can find her if you have an opinion, but it will take a few days for her to return, and she will come back in a few days. Yekong sneered, well, now that the subject is busy, I'll say goodbye. He stood up and smiled, others have better than their own. I think those monks must be very happy, someone taught them for free rune symbol. Well, the hotel downstairs just happened to have no business. When Gao Yuanyang heard the anxiety, he did not expect Yekong to be so absolutely. He was going to completely open the method of the free run completely, and he also knew that the success rate of this run was very high. Fu is not small enough to sell, today's hot scenes of business are all smashed, then it is a big deal. Xia Xiao, don't worry, let's discuss it. In fact, our Yi family is already preparing to give you some discounts, and we don't know what you need. The goods downstairs of this firm, although you see what you see, just tell me, just say, as long as you don't overdo it, you will be compensated. Yekong listened, and nodded, that's what it sounds like. He then asked, I don't know what permissions you young masters give you. Within 300 spirit stones. Ah. The restaurant opposite is really empty. If I go to teach people free of charge, maybe they have to pay a lot of thanks. Yekong stood up again, in fact, he thought that the 300 spirit stone is good. After all, he worked hard for a long time last month and did not earn 300 spirit stones. Now that he doesn't do anything, he will take a lot of white spirit stones. Upon hearing Yakong's unhappiness, Gao Yuanyang sighed, 4 spirit stones. Forget it, you have no sincerity. Gao Yuanyang smiled bitterly. Although many people wanted this spiritual practice, he sold hundreds of them a day. That's impossible, and there is a cost. Those runes also have to take a commission. If you give Yakong more, you will lose money. However, he is now riding a tiger again. If Yakong really goes to the opposite side to teach people free of charge, and stir up the popularity of the Yi family business, it is not a loss of money. 600 spirit stones. Please do as much as you like, Gao Yuanyang said with a gritted tooth. Yakong smiled, why did you say that you are squeezing toothpaste? Lao Gao, you are dishonest, so I will go downstairs to purchase, haha. Yakong left. Gao Yuanyang was still pondering, what does squeezing toothpaste mean? Is it a new magic charm? The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 119. Chapter 118 Auction. In fact, Yakong is still very happy. After all, the 600 spirit stones are not a small number. If he hadn't given him one because he opened the business, he would have no choice. When I came downstairs and looked at various magical artifacts and cultivating materials, he seemed to have nothing to buy. He now has a few magical instruments, and it's useless to buy more. As for various spells, he is even more no need to buy it. Those materials for cultivating immortals are not available to him at present, and the only thing that is needed is the spirit grass that created the den and the charm. Seeing Yakong coming back and forth, Gao Yuanyang followed without urging, and walked along the counter with a smile. I want to buy some low-quality intermediate grass seeds, no matter what kind of spiritual grass, as long as the low-quality intermediate grass is good, Yakong asked. Gao Yuanyang is also an old river and lake. When I asked him about the seeds of Linko, he guessed that it was used for amulets. But another thought, was he only able to make middle-grade amulets when he was in the early stage of gas refining? Did he really break through? Gao Yuanyang was busy looking at Yakong with his eyes, and was shocked at first glance. This guy really broke through the early stage of gas refining and entered the 4th layer of gas refining. You must know that the 5 elements of the spiritual roots will never break through the early stage of gas refining. Others are still unclear, but the Yi family knows very well that they have trained several descendants of the 5 elements of spiritual roots. In the end, they failed. Therefore, Yumening was so sure that Yakong would not break through. Oh, Xiaoziao, you really rushed to the 4th floor of gas refining. It's really gratifying. Sorry, I didn't notice my husband's turbidity. Gao Yuanyang immediately congratulated. Yakong sneered, thinking that the woman said that it would never be possible. I knew I had to stop her, and I would make a promise to see what she said. Of course, Yakong just thought about it. If he really said these things to Yumening, he would have been bombed and killed. It's nothing. Yakong waved and laughed, that spirit grass. Oh, please. Going to a counter, Gao Yuanyang said, this is the seed of the lower grade middle level grass, dew grass. This kind of dew grass is commonly used, and it is essential in many elixir, so you don't worry about selling it. However, because of the large number of people who planted this kind of grass, it is also apt to grow, so the yield is huge, and it should be the cheapest one, 30 spirit stones per piece. As soon as Yakong heard this, it was a good deal. I bought 600 pieces at the moment and only spent 20 spirit stones. He also had a free quota of 580 spirit stones. He felt that there was nothing to buy, just asked if Gao Yuanyang could get more than 500 spirit stones in cash. He looked at a guy in the back room. The newly arrived green viper snake materials are all boa. The new store is open, and the price is low. The monks in the store were all shocked. They dropped the objects one by one and went to see the green viper. Yakong didn't know what the green pit snake was, so he asked Gao Yuanyang and heard the old man said that it was a spirit beast. The most special aspect of this spirit beast is that it can be upgraded, just like human cultivation, it can also be refined and advanced. Of course, many spirit beasts can repair demons, but the difference between green snakes and them is that those monsters only have a monster repairer inside, but green snakes can improve their level. In other words, all of the green snakes have spiritual roots, and the ones with high-quality spiritual roots will eventually become dragons and even become intelligent humanoid. There is also a legend that after the green snake becomes a humanoid, it must be a great beauty, not inferior to the extinct shadow beauty, so every monk wants to raise one that can be ride, and can help, and finally transformed can be my wife's green pit snake, Gao Yuanyang said, looking expectant. Ye Kong's chills, even if it is snake-shaped, it is also a snake demon. Can humans and mother snakes XX give birth to the next generation? What kind of monster is it? Looking at the drooling Gao Yuanyang, he didn't say anything, but asked, so, why don't you catch the pets and kill them and sell them? Gao Yuanyang shook his head and said, you don't understand, green viper is very difficult to upgrade, not everyone has good qualifications. If the green viper can't be promoted in the first few levels, it's only a matter of killing and selling money, otherwise, it is to feed Lingdan to make it higher, and it will be difficult to rise in the future. Ye Kong understands that upgrading is a test of the qualifications of these green pit snakes. If it is very strenuous at the beginning, it must be more strenuous behind it. It is also a loss to raise, so it is better to kill meat. He was a little curious, followed Gao Yuanyang to see, and saw a big python lying in the courtyard of the firm's back court. The snake was dead, but the scales on his body were still shining with a metallic iron luster, and the snake had 2 long horns. It is a bit like a dragon, but it has no claws. This is a square courtyard. The monks are standing around the courtyard. Several folks in the middle are holding the magic swords. This green viper not only has all the benefits that Gao Yuanyang said, but also its horns, bones, and tendons are rare and rare high-end materials. Even its flesh can supplement spiritual power, so the price is very expensive. Those little monks can't afford it, and come to see the excitement. After all, this thing is unusual to see, and it would be even better if you picked a bargain. However, it seems that it is not so simple to choose cheap. The Yi family firm uses on-site auctions. Whoever wins will not choose cheap. When the people surrounded, the middleman started to shout, the middle-class fire attributes of the green pit snake, a pair of snake horns, can be used to make the offensive weapon. Everyone knows that the weapon made by the green pit snake horn may have penetration, the properties of the psychic hood, so this is definitely a good material for making high-level artifacts. When you think about the enemy, if there is a magic weapon that can easily pass through the opponent's spiritual shield, how powerful it is, and you can kill the opponent by surprise. The monks were noisy and couldn't help eagerly trying. Seeing this, the guy immediately announced the reserve price. The reserve price is 100 spirit stones. The one with the highest price will get it. 101, a little monk just shouted. Someone shouted behind him, 150. The monks bid back and forth around 4 weeks, and finally got the high price of 500 spirit stones. Gao Yuanyang laughed, why not Xiaoziao? Ye Kong shook his head. Those monks were blinded by lard. They didn't hear it. It's just possible. How likely is it to make a weapon with additional attributes? It's not likely to be great. Gao Yuanyang yelled, this is always a fight, there are not a lot of 500 spirit stones. If you buy a junk, you need 300 spirit stones, right? If you really make them, you can penetrate the spirit. 3,000 magic stones cannot be purchased for the magic shield. Hearing Gao Yuanyang, a monk roared immediately behind Ye Kong, 550 spirit stones. Ye Kong smiled. Anyway, he might not hope for such a weak one, and he didn't reach the point where the money was so painful to gamble, but now that he knows this stuff, he should pay attention to the enemy in the future and do not be fooled inexplicably killed without knowing what happened. Finally, the diagonal was bought by a fairy in the foundation period with thousands of spirit stones, followed by the skin, a good material for making defensive implements. The defensive implements are expensive and the materials are very expensive. They also split the skin into 2 pieces and sold them as 2. Then the bones and eyes were photographed, and the price was not expensive, but the most important thing is the green snake of the green viper. This is really a good thing, although this green viper is not high level, but the other is the same. No level of spirit beasts have Yaden yet. Many of the barbarian monks had already practiced the techniques of absorbing the aura of others for their own use. This green viper's monster den was refined through secret methods and could also be absorbed, so it immediately raised the peak of the auction. 1,500 yuan, suddenly a voice, Yekong looked up, and found that it was Yunfu's boss, Yingchuo. As soon as the price of the bald came out, no one immediately talked. The price he was asking was indeed high, and a monk in the late period of building the foundation would not want to provoke anyone. But there was something unknown, just listening to a dull voice saying, 1016. Yekong heard a little familiarity, looked up, and turned out to be that wrong. Others were also curious, who, dare to offend the real person of the eagle bald, went to see one after another, and saw a guy with a thin beard, and when she repaired it, she couldn't see through it. However, a real person with a bald eagle can see through it. When he sees whether the other party is in the middle of the foundation or the peak, he will catch up with himself if he breaks through another layer. No wonder he dared to compete with himself. He raised his hand. 1017. Mustache didn't even think about it, 1018. Yekong was a little surprised. This nun is not like a wicked cult. What does she want this demon den? Really knowing people and knowing what to do, maybe she is also a vampire who people's skills everywhere. Last time, she attacked herself, maybe it was like sucking her aura? Not to mention, this female nun is really rich. At the end, 3,200 spirit stones were shot away. The bald eagle was so angry that he turned his head and left. Although he didn't like the female nun, but he didn't like the eagle bald who sold inferior talisman. He was very happy to see the eagle bald didn't get it. But he wasn't happy for a long time, because that nun met him. 300 spirit stones. 301. 315. 316. This is the blood of the green viper in the auction. Yekong did not want to buy it, but the blood is used to draw the character of fire. The power is absolutely powerful. Yekong wanted to take this by blood and make some powerful fire magic charms to defend yourself. However, I did not expect that the female repairer should buy it. The most depressing thing for Yekong is that others do shout for her price. As long as Yekong shouts, she immediately raises the price, and her tone is not in a hurry. Xianxia is like 600 spirit stones, Yekong roared, and he had reached the limit. But the female nun across the aisle seemed to have to speak again. Yekongji said, I'm a VIP customer of the Yi family, I have the right to buy first. Talking about pulling out the sign that Gao Yuanyang had given him before, this was useful. The nun on the other side even smiled proudly and stopped shouting. Gao Yuanyang was originally unhappy. As a merchant, he naturally hopes that the higher the price, the better. You get a discounted brand and say that you can buy it first. Isn't that nonsense? But soon he found business opportunities again. When the monks saw Yekong's brand, they also asked, how much is this brand? We have to buy it? Is anyone willing to spend money on a worthless brand? Gao Yuanyang immediately stood up and said, this brand is not for sale, it is a gift. As long as you spend 3,000 spirit stones in this account, you can become a VIP customer. Ye Kong smiled, took the blood of the green viper delivered by his buddy, and went to see the nun proudly. I did not expect that the woman was more proud than him. You really want to buy this blood as a real person? I purposely raised your price. The nun came over and was sick in front of Ye Kong. I have no grudges with you. Really, are you neurotic? Ye Kong ignored her angrily. Oh, I just like to see you feel uncomfortable. Indecent Nun Jiu didn't know what was in her heart, her face turned red. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 120. Chapter 119 Ice Needle Curse. When the blood of the green pit snake came to his hands, Ye Kong felt a little bit lost. Thinking about his own 20 spirit stones, he bought so many seeds. Now he spent 600 pieces of spirit stones to buy a large plate of blood. That female Xianxia is really not able to buy it. Not only has she run out of free credits, but she also posted 20 spiritual stones. I wanted to save some spiritual stones to buy fortune, but now I have no money. I only hope for the green snake blood is indeed more powerful. Ye Kong didn't want to care more about that nun. Could we not afford to mess with it? Also pulled over the high ocean. Lao Gao, give me a few of those ice berries. Gao Yuanyang wasn't stingy, so he got a few from him. While the man was going to fetch ice berries, Ye Kong asked again, is this fruit effective for a woman's facial beauty? Of course, this fruit is the function of beauty, and the taste is still delicious. It's best to please the nuns. Gao Yuanyang thought Ye Kong wanted to give it to a fancy monk. Ye Kong did not explain, and continued to ask, what if it is a scar on my face? Scar, Gao Yuanyang thought for a while, and said, it should be possible. What freckles and acne, in itself is the invasion of evil fire. This ice berry is a cold food in the cold place, it works wonders. What about large scars? Black scars, half-faced. Gao Yuan froze for a moment, curiously looked at Ye Kong, and said, in the end, which female concubine did he look at, and half of his face was scarred? Oh, this is still human? I don't know, I haven't tried it. Gao Yuanyang was not sure. Is there any elixir for this kind of scar? Gao Yuanyang thought about it again and said, although our Yi family is selling everything, I have never heard of what you want, but I have a suggestion. You said. Ye Kong heard this and became enthralled. Even if the Yi family didn't, it would be good to inquire about the source. Did you know? The Xianxian school behind Angguo is the Elixir Mountain. The monks of the Elixir Mountain are very proficient in elixir, especially those female monks, who are very good at elixir-like beauty. As soon as the mountain of elixir is sought, there may be gains. Oh, Ye Kong nodded. He knew that there were Xianxianmen in every country. He did not expect that the Xianxianmen in Angguo turned out to be a magic medicine mountain. Where's the location of the Elixir Mountain? He asked again. Just flying north in Andu for 3 hours a day and seeing a mountain surrounded by purple gas. The answer was not Gao Yuanyang, but the nun Yurong standing beside. At this time, the man brought the ice berries, and Gao Yuanyang took the opportunity to say, that's all I know. I still have something to do. Let's go first. Ye leaves a little bit, put ice berries in a storage bag, squeeze out the crowd, and walked out of the Yi family. Hey, I said you are not polite. I saved your life before and didn't listen to your thank you. I just kindly reminded you of the location of Ling Yaoshan, and you left without saying hello. The female nun behind kept up with her. Ye Kong was annoying her. If it weren't for her, he wouldn't have bought his blood from the green viper. Thank you. Ye Kong snorted angrily and continued walking. The woman stomped her feet and followed. Xiaye was annoyed by this. Hey, I said, is there something wrong with you? I didn't recruit you and didn't mess with you, what do you always do with me? The nun sees him annoyed and comfortable, let alone that energy. Hey boy, I just want you to feel uncomfortable. I'm looking for you to buy the Thunder Fire curse. I bought it last time and it worked well. Oh, did you buy it last time? Yekong exhaled, and when the nunchiu was about to make a proud expression, he said, I knew it was you, so I won't sell it. The female Shiu was glared with anger, and then sneered, Cut, don't sell me. Even if you don't sell me, I know you want to raise Yuan Dan. If you don't sell me, see where you can find Yang Yuan Dan. Yekong thought about it too, although the Yi family must have it, but the guy was too dark. The good luck Dan also sold 2 spirit stones, and Yang Yuan Dan didn't know how expensive it was. Well, you want some? I already bought 2 at that booth, and get 2 more. Take it tomorrow. Yekong left after speaking, leaving only the female nun staring at him angrily. I wanted to tell you about the elixir mountain, but I didn't want to know. Returning to the small building where he lived, Yekong hurriedly laid out the battle array, preparing to make the next level magic charm. Take out the seeds of dew grass, let Huang Quan's ancestors grind into ink, and he went back and forth to look at the encyclopedia of spells in the Lingtai. Since successfully landing on the 4th floor of refining gas, the lower level middle level spells in the enchantment book have all shown a less. Inferior spells are basically the same as lower level spells, but they are more powerful and have a larger range. For example, lower level ice bomb spells have lower level ice spells. When they reach the middle level, they are ice needles. Although it is small, it is extremely difficult to prevent. Other fireball spells have become firebird spells. Finally, the fire spell of thunder has also become very powerful. Now it has become 5 thunderbolts, probably from 1 lightning to 5. Seeing these mantras, Yekong feels comfortable. These are very powerful mantras, because the prices are expensive, and those monks during the refining period are reluctant to put one, but they can draw as much as they want. How is the preparation? Huang Quan's ancestors have already made the ink. He is willing to fight Yekong. After all, he has learned a lot from it. If he really finds the furnace of the 5 elements, these systems he can also use Fu's craftsmanship. Well, let's make the ice amulet and the water light rune. Actually Yekong wanted to draw Wu Lihong first, but since he was stolen by Yi family, he also learned fine, like Wu Lei. Blast this powerful spell, and keep it for yourself. The ice needle curse doesn't matter. Anyway, everyone is selling it. The water light rune is a defensive magic rune, and it is also a big commodity, so it doesn't matter if you have more control points. Familiar with the pattern, Yekong took out the wolf's eyebrows. After sitting, he dipped it in nimbus and filled it with aura. Because of the ice property, the nibble wolf's eyebrows flashed instantly, giving off a dazzling light blue, and the light wolf from the pen the eyebrows burst out, which means that the aura in the psychic pen is full. Then he moved his pen with aura and let the ink of Ling Cao draw deep lines on the rune paper, suddenly straight, like a blade across the rune paper, suddenly, as if the moon was hanging obliquely in the sky, then it was undulating uniform wavy lines, the gaps between the waves, are neat as if measured. Huang Quan's ancestor looked at the rune pen in Yekong's hand, and went to see Yekong again. He couldn't help but smile at the corner of his mouth. Indeed, watching his runes was a kind of enjoyment, just like watching the court artist painting. Slowly fast, slow, and so rhythmic. However, the success rate of the lower rank spells is much lower than that of the lower ranks, and Yekong is the first time, so he has succeeded in a few consecutive shots. However, he drank a few sips of spirit wine, continued his efforts, drew 3 more pictures, and finally made an ice needle curse successfully. Wow! It finally succeeded, Yekong yelled joyfully, and then bowed his head. I don't know how great the difference is between the middle and lower grades. Huang Quan ancestor yelled, you will know if you try. Yekong sighed, still put the magic charm on the table, and sighed, "Forget it, buddy is short of money now, the spiritual energy you sucked has been refined, and you will be asked to meditate and practice myself. Dan, the speed must be super slow, hey, save it, just have some money to buy chemical Dan." Having said that, he thought of the abominable female nun again. It was really abominable. If it wasn't for being suffocated with her, the blood of this green viper is so expensive. Why do you buy it? At present, I am going to use the blood of the green viper to draw 2 firebird curses, but I think that the nun will also come to take the thunderbolt tomorrow. Forget it, let's paint it for her. It took a lot of time to make the ice needle spell just now, it's already late at night, and the success rate of the thunder fire spell is not very good, so Yekong thought about it. Draw the girl first, make it for her tomorrow, and save her to annoy her when she grows old. Yekong had a headache when she thought of the woman. If she could not beat her, she would have raped and killed. Yekong was angry, and there was an individual in Beizai Fang Fang. In Yunfuch's infield, a bald short man angrily threw a destroy charm into the ground and yelled, "Bully me in the middle of building, even in the middle of refining gas. Grab my business." A buddy in the late stage of gas refining, his head bowed, and he was Mr. Yunfuch's management accountant. He settled the bill tonight and found that today's turnover has actually dropped a lot compared to the past. Of course, the main reason here is the opening of the Yi family. He sells everything here, and of course there is no shortage of spells, but the bald can't afford the Yi family, and he hates Yekong. In fact, the bald eagle had long known that Yekong was selling arrays over there, but the arrays did not conflict with him. In fact, he also bought 2 and came back to learn. But today there are good people to report, saying that not only sell arrays, but also sell all kinds of low-grade magical charms, especially the amulets. Monks are waiting in line to buy it. The rune is a kind of magic rune that Yunfuch sells more. The eagle bald must not let the other party mess up their business. What's most irritating to the bald eagle is that some people there said openly that the Yunfu pavilion's charms are of lower quality than others' temporary stalls, so this made him very annoyed. Of course, the reason for his annoyance was that middle period the guy even snatched the green snake devil Dan he wanted to buy. In short, he is very hot today, and he is in a bad mood, and the mistake of returning to the rune is frequent. In this way, the vicious circle, the rune is getting more and more unsuccessful, and his fire is getting bigger and bigger. Damn. In the middle of gas refining, I have to stir your place tomorrow. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 121. Chapter 20, Smashing the Field. The second day of Fangxi opened, early in the morning. Yekong was not in a hurry to send the 2 thunder fire spells to the booth. Although he hoped that the nun could quickly get away with the amulet, the farther the better, but at this moment he picked up the shelf again. "Hey, I want a charm. Wait a minute, buddy is a fun teacher, a decent person with skills. How are you in the middle of foundation? You have the ability to draw yourself." The female nun was really idle, and came to the stall early in the morning. After waiting for a while, Yekong had not appeared. A little impatient, she asked, "Shouldn't that kid draw 2 pictures all night?" Zhang Wulin was also anxious. He greeted the business while sending out a note, but the note was like a stone sinking into the sea, and he did not respond at all. "Zhang Wulin is in such a hurry, isn't your kid usually sharp? Why didn't you respond today? People are in the middle of building a base, so rich and can't afford to mess with it. Will you come later?" Zhang Wulin said with a touch of sweat on his head. The woman repaired her slender beard and said, "Forget it, I'll go to the person he lives with. Who knows that this nun has not left yet?" And someone shouted behind him, "What kind of aura are you? The quality is too poor to start." The female nun who wanted to find Yekong stopped and looked back, and saw that a monk in the late stage of gas gathering was holding an array of spiritual deities. "Don't quarrel, Don't quarrel. Zhang Wulin quickly looked at the rune in his hand and said, "Oh, this Taoist, you are wrong, this array of runes is not ours." Zhang Wulin didn't know if he looked at anything else. He knew it at the first glance. This amulet was green in white, which was obviously an item from Yunfu Pavilion. But the monk was disobedient. He heard Zhang Wulin deny it, and he was so angry that he shouted at the monks who wanted to buy amulets. "Look, this is their credibility. I bought it here yesterday. Today he do anti admit it? You buy amulets here, but be careful not to be fooled." If this monk wanted to use a bad charm to strike a good charm, Zhang Wulin would be fine, but this guy made it clear that he had come to damage his business, and he would not tolerate it. "Hey, do Antigo. Your rune paper is clearly the rune paper from Yunfu Ji. Why do you hold the waist rune of Yunfu Ji to write a letter, and you have the ability to bring your waist rune and put it down with me? Make a comparison." The troubled monk was called out of his identity and became angry and angry. "You are a good adulterer. Who doesn't know that the only one who sells battle symbols in this market is you and the Yi family? If you say Yi, it's the same with other commercial companies, but Yunfuge has never sold arrays, are anti-you bullshit?" Many of the monks on the crowd came here in admiration. Listening to the monk's words, nodding, "Yeah, the Yunfu Pavilion did not sell arrays. You said that it was from Yunfu Pavilion, and it was too nonsense." At the moment, a few monks were skeptical of the magic charm of the temporary stall, and some of them shouted immediately, "Want to buy a charm or to go to a big size with a face and face? The quality here is difficult to guarantee. Come, give me this charm return." The troublesome monk saw that he had succeeded in scheming, got out of the crowd, and wanted to escape. "Don't go, you can compare your rune with me," Zhang Wulin shouted angrily, but he had been by a group of monks who retreated, and couldn't squeeze out the booth at all. "Well, don't you leave me for dinner." The troublemaker was proud of his eyes, squinting proudly at the distance, and signaled to the real person who was hiding in the bald eagle, and things were done. Unexpectedly, Chen Yaojin was killed halfway, and a monk with a slender mustache blocked his way. "Since you bought the amulet, why don't you change the new one that you can use?" said the long-bearded monk with a faint smile, as if he had seen through the trick of this guy. The troubled monk looked at the other side, and in the middle of the foundation period, he dared not make trouble, and he replied, "This kind of temporary stall will not work for another one. I only need to export bad gas." The long-bearded monk didn't let him go like this, sneer, "Since the useless symbol is useless, why don't you dare take it out?" "Who says I dare not take it out?" "Then you take it out and go back with me, and you'll know by comparison." The troublesome monk did not know well, and dodged. "I have something now, I don't have to manage the two little things of the spirit stone." He said it was like walking, but the monk with a beard on the opposite side wiped the storage bracelet on his wrist, and a golden glittering octagonal weapon was held in his hand, and when he looked again, it turned out to be the best magic weapon. "What are you doing here? This is Fangxi, no use of force is allowed," shouted the monk, shivering arrogantly. In fact, he was very guilty, and he was no different from the other. About to hang up. "I have a bad temper, and I never think about the consequences. If you go back with me, if you don't go back, then try the uncle's octagonal sand dish." The monk with a beard powers into the instrument after speaking spiritual power, ready to shoot. That monk is really scared. This guy is so rich that it is not an ordinary person at first glance. I am afraid that it is the core child of any major. Even if the other party really kills himself, Beizongjai will not offend the door for others. Big faction. That being the case, then go back, the troublemaker agreed, but he turned to look for help in that corner. Zhang Wulin watched Monk Zuji help himself, let go of his heart, released a note, and then shouted back to the crowd, who said back, "Everyone be calm, let me say a few words. To retreat, I will never say more." Many monks listened to him and stopped talking about what he was going to say. Take out the scrap symbol just now. Zhang Wulin reached out to the troubled monk, but the boy didn't want to give it, but under the stare of the nun, he still took it out of the storage bag. Let's take a look. This is what he said is an invalid symbol, and then look at the magic symbols we are selling. Zhang Wulin put the two symbols side by side. Not only are the two runes different in color, the most obvious one is that the discard runes are obviously smaller, and the idiot can see the difference. Zhang Wulin raised his hand to the dumb people and threw out a large number of magic charms, saying, "Look! I have a magic charm similar to him. You can compare the magic charm you just bought, but is there one like him?" The monks took out their own charms and saw that they were definitely not blue. Some monks took out the charms they had bought at Yunfuge, and compared them. Really, Yunfuge? He must have been troubled by Yunfuge. The monks accused the troubled monks one by one, and then came a vicious short man, coldly, "You sell your amulets, what is the matter with my Yunfu pavilion?" Everyone saw that Yunfuge's boss, Eagle Bald, was here, and all spoke silently. It was not a good idea to offend a monk in the late foundation period. Eagle Bald glanced at everyone, and glanced at the noisy long beard, and cursed in his heart, "Grabbing my demon Dan yesterday, I will always make you regret it." Eagle Bald then picked up the used rune and looked at it and said, "Yes, this is our Yunfuge rune paper, but we also sell blank rune paper. Someone bought our Yunfuge rune paper. It's normal to sell the amulets, why do you wait for this to be sent by Yunfuge?" Eagle Bald said, looking sharply at the noisy monks who had just been noisy, and those monks were so frightened to back away. Eagle Bald was even more aggressive and shouted, "My Yunfuge customers are like clouds, they need to use them. Is this shameless trick to grab business with a makeshift stand?" The crowd yelled at him so badly that Ying Bald pointed at Zhang Wulin's nose and said, "I think it's you. I bought our blank rune paper, and then drew it to discredit me. Reputation. If it weren't for the murder here, the old man would kill you." Zhang Wulin was snarled by him and didn't dare to answer, especially the last sentence, obviously with the meaning of threat. It doesn't matter if he earns less spiritual stones. It was followed by the monks in the later period of construction, which was a dead end. Zhang Wulin was afraid, and some people were not afraid. Sister Yirong walked up with a clap and sneered, "It's wonderful that the real hawk, the thief, calls the thief to catch the thief, and the land is really wonderful. I admire it." The bald face of the eagle was dull, and he asked coldly, "My Excellency, I don't know which major disciple, I wonder if I can let the eagle know his name." Although the bald eagle is only one level higher than this monk, it is the difference between the foundation and the foundation. Generally speaking, 1 or 2 or 3 foundations can be built after the foundation, so even if the other party has a superb magic weapon, Eagle Bald is not necessarily afraid. The female Xiu laughed, "The real eagle wants to ask Xianxia my door and then it is impossible to destroy one door? But it disappoints the real eagle, and it is a casual repair called Huadong. I have never heard of it. Come on, haha." Huadong, Ying Bald knew that the other party didn't report his real name, but he didn't want to cause trouble, and his attitude changed a little. He smiled, "I don't know how the fire friends have friendship with this stall owner. It's just the customer sees a bumpy road." "Okay," Eagle Bald complimented, and said, "But how do you know that it is him, not my Yunfu pavilion? Who is not right? Ask him to know." When Huadong's female Xiu looked back, she found that the troublemaker had disappeared into the crowd. When the bald eagle saw the witnesses leaving, he felt very proud, and said, "Men of fire, if this troublemaker is really sent by me, why did he frighten away when he saw me? This bald really meant that the deer was a horse." Huadong said nothing, and he shouted at Zhang Wulin again, "This is a play. You deliberately slandered and vilified my Yunfuge. You say it?" The eagle bald roared Zhang Wulin's face, and he heard a lazy voice outside saying, "Just buy your eagle bald three-legged cat's charm technique, and also with Xia somebody to stigmatize. Don't look at your reputation. Your fake and shoddy product has already smashed your own brand." The eagle bald real man looked at the minor repairer in the middle of the refining gas that came in, and he sneered, "I'm a three-legged cat technique. What kind of technique are you? My Yunfaman personally pass on the disciples, but I want to see the system of bone spirit gates. Method." After the eagle bald real person finished speaking, the monks couldn't help laughing. This bone spirit gate is known for refining the beast bone of the spirit beast. In recent years, the beast bone has not been refined. Yekong didn't respond, scratching his head, and asked, "The real person with the bald head meant to compare with Xiaoxiu to try out the charm technique."